You are listening to Wilhelm, a film-centric podcast for film lovers of all kinds. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to Wilhelm. I am your host, Ben Beck, and we continue on with Spooktober. This episode, we are putting our focus on a director of mystery and suspense who is so iconic. He pretty much influenced a bunch of other people who came after him. That's right, we're talking about the one and only Alfred Hitchcock. And we're going to be revealing and discussing our choices for our top 5 favorite Alfred Hitchcock films. Would have been funnier if I said John Carpenter and just threw everybody off. But that brings me to this week's special guest host. She is one of the hosts of the Run for Your Lives podcast and a first timer for Wilhelm. Please welcome my friend Daphne Backman.
Yay! I'm so glad to be here, Ben. I'm so excited. And you know what? My mom would be super excited that you pronounced my last name correctly.
How else would you pronounce it?
Some people say Bachman. Even though it's written as, no, I know, but that's what they do. And so my mom is always happy when they pronounce it correctly. So I'm going to have to get her to listen to this just so that.
Take a step back, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Bachman. There's no.
They do sometimes. Yes. I'm not kidding.
What do they think you are? Oh God. Is it who uses the pseudonym Bachman? Richard Bachman. It's Stephen King, right?
Yeah, of course it is. Yes. Yeah.
I don't know why I had to second guess that.
Come on, just go with your gut.
But this is going to be an interesting episode. For starters, you and I have been planning. This one's been in the works for a couple of months.
Yeah.
And it's fitting now that we're doing it for October or Spooktober rather. But it's also kind of interesting because of all the directors we could have chosen for a Halloween themed month. Hitchcock might not be people's first choice because he's more suspenseful and mystery than horror.
Yeah, he's the one that keeps you on the edge of your seat wondering what the heck's going on in the film at times. He's not the one that's going to have the jump scares, except
there's a couple.
There are a couple that fall into that category.
Yeah. That
may or may not be on my list. I guess
there's a couple that may or may not be on my list as well. I'm not going to be surprised if we have if we share a couple top 5.
I am pretty sure that you do not have my number 1 on your list or on your honorable mentions list.
We shall see. It's going to be interesting, but this is also going to be an interesting episode too, because last week when I had Pete Mitchell on and we did top 5 vampire films, like a lot of those movies I rewatch constantly because I love that genre and I love those movies. Hitchcock, with the exception of my number 1, none of the movies in my top 5 or in my honorable mentions are movies I have seen in the last decade. It's been a long time since I've seen any of these movies with the exception of 1.
I have seen 3 of them. 1 more recently than others because I just rewatched my number 1 today because I was just getting in the zone to talk about Alfred Hitchcock. And 1 we covered on Run for Your Lives not that long ago. Ooh. And then there's 1 other one that I see usually every year. I rewatch it just because. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them, I'm with you. I haven't watched them in a while. I don't get up on the weekend and say, oh, I need to go watch Vertigo or I need to go watch Frenzy that's just not the kind of mood I'm in. Like I don't go back to Hitchcock unless I see something that reminds me of the movie.
You have to be put in the mood to watch Hitchcock. Yeah,
you do. You can't it's not the type of thing that you just pick up and watch. It just doesn't happen that way. You just have to be in the mood.
Yeah, he's not one of those directors that you look at like you'll just be sitting at home and be I need something to watch. Oh, let me watch this.
Yeah.
Let me break out this Hitchcock classic. It doesn't happen. Like, you're right. You need something to remind you of the movie. Like, you saw a list of like top 10 iconic movies, and this Hitchcock film happens to be on it. You're like, oh, I haven't seen that in a while. I should give that a watch.
Exactly.
That's really how you go back and revisit Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Unless
That's
you are
true.
just absolutely a super fan of Hitchcock, and then you're just constantly watching.
I consider myself to be a pretty big fan, but I don't watch them on a regular basis. Like, there's so much to watch right now that's new that I don't often get the chance to go back and rewatch some of my old favorites. It's just, there's just too many good movies out so I don't get the opportunity.
I'm so far behind on shows alone that I don't have time to watch a lot of movies, and I try my best to fit them in as prep for the episodes of this podcast. But even in the 19 episodes of this podcast I've done so far, I already have a list at least 20 miles, 20 movies long of movies that people have brought up in their top 5 or their honorable mentions that I have never seen and want to.
And you love movies. Like,
it's why I do this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I consider you to be someone who enjoys movies, not one particular genre, but lots of different types of movies. So that surprises me that there are that many that you haven't seen. But it also surprises me that you've done 18 or 19 episodes of this podcast, because I feel like you just started last week.
Well, how do you think I feel? Like, I listed when I published last week's episode of the vampires, and I put in the episode number, it's like 18. It's like, geez, man, I feel like I just started this like a couple of weeks ago, and it's been going on 4 months now almost.
Yeah, it goes fast.
And that was with taking a week off in there somewhere too. So I think this episode actually does mark like the 4-month mark.
Oh, wow,
since I started the podcast.
Yeah. I just posted the 55th episode of Run for Your Lives, and I still feel like we started that like 4 months ago. Like, it just doesn't seem like it's been a year.
And you and Pink also celebrate like every 25.
We do. But we can do it because we do what we want. It's our podcast.
True. Every podcast I've ever done, I've celebrated the 100th milestone. Yeah. And a lot of other podcasts do that too. But hey, you do you. It's your show.
Yes, we do what we want.
That's what we're always saying. This is the 18th episode anniversary. No. Oh no, this would be the 19th episode anniversary. Or wait, is this? I don't remember. This might be 17. I think this is actually 17. So
yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's fun to look at how you started and where you are going and where you are now. And for me, I'll never go back and listen to our early stuff because 1, I don't like to hear myself talk. And 2, again, we've already talked about it. There's just no time to go back and do that.
My Spotlight podcast has been going for about 7 years now, and I will never go back and listen to. I won't go back and listen to anything from the first 4 years because it's completely different. And the first year or two, forget it. I will never. You could pay me, and I won't go back and listen to those episodes.
I went back like 6 months in because I wanted to listen to how I sounded at the beginning and then how far I had come, because I was trying to gauge that. But I edit the episode, and once it's done and it's over. I don't think about it anymore.
That's how I am. Yeah. Too. Like it's like I don't need to listen. I lived it.
That's right. Just let it go. Move on to the next thing. There's always something new. And when you're doing a weekly podcast, you have to do that because there's always something new that you have to be prepping for. So,
yep. And the beautiful thing about this podcast, and I feel like you probably can share this sentiment too for Run for Your Lives, is that it's been this many episodes already, but there's no end in sight because the number of topics I have is hundreds. I have like anybody who's applied to be a guest, and this is going for all the listeners out there. I put out a list when I was first getting ready to start this, and I was lining up hosts. And that list is, I think, about 250 topics strong.
Yes. I remember when you were putting that together, and it was
we were
huge
titling
then.
the episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've since thought of more. And then
Mhm.
there's always listener submitted ones too.
Yeah.
So, and I could go back and revisit any of the ones I've already done. Because as Pete and I mentioned last week for the vampires, like I could do vampires again next year and with a different person, and it will be a completely different experience because their top 5 will be completely different than Pete's, and mine might even change by then.
Yes.
So
I think tastes change. I think depending on the time of year or just lots of factors, you change the order of where things are on a list just because, oh my God, I rewatched this last week. It has to be number 1 now. It was number 4 before. Mm-hmm. You just get too hyped up and get excited. And it, your list might change. The movies themselves may not change, but your preference for them may change. And
or you could do an episode like the Edgar Wright episode that I did with your co-host Paik, our friend Paik, where there are only 5 Edgar Wright movies.
Yes.
With the exception of the Sparks Brothers, which is a documentary, and Last Night in Soho, which hasn't come out yet. And where like that was literally Paik, obviously, I knew his number 1 was going to be Scott Pilgrim.
Yes.
But with me, like anybody who listened to that episode, you heard me say it. It's like, okay, just take all 5 of these movies, throw them up in the air, and whatever order they land in, that's my top 5.
It's hard with those movies though, because they're all equally amazing. And to try to put one over another is really hard.
And I'll watch one, like I'll watch Hot Fuzz and I'd be like, oh, this is my favorite Edgar Wright movie. Mm-hmm. And then I'll watch Shaun of the Dead and I'm like, no, this is my favorite Edgar Wright movie. It's just okay, Scott Pilgrim is my favorite Edgar Wright movie. It's like, this is impossible.
It's impossible. You can't. I think with some directors, that's just how it is.
Yeah. But that's why. Go ahead.
I'm really looking forward to Last Night in Soho because that, based on the previews, looks incredible. But that's why to see.
I'm wrapping up Spooktober with top 5 horror films because that is a topic I plan to expect that to be an annual episode every October.
Yeah, definitely.
Because there are constantly new horror movies coming out. There are constantly ones I'm discovering for the first time that have been out for a long time. So a different guest every year will bring in a different top 5, and my top 5 will probably change every year.
Yeah.
With the exception of my number 1. My number 1 has not changed for years. and no movie has come close to touching it as my favorite.
There have been so many cool directors, like actors turned directors, that are bringing cool new ideas to the table. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Because we've been able to enjoy that over the last couple of years.
But let's talk Alfred Hitchcock.
Yes, that's why we're here.
We'll talk a little more. Believe me, not having seen these movies for a while, this might be a quick conversation.
Yeah.
But we'll get back to Run for Your Lives and stuff at the end because I'm going to give you a chance to let everybody know where they can listen, what's coming, and all that fun stuff.
All right.
Let's jump into our top 5s. Need to let you know first and foremost that neither Daphne or myself have discussed our choices to one another beforehand, as not to influence each other. So Daphne does not know any of my top 5 and I don't know any of hers. Also, just a fair warning, as always, if you haven't seen one or multiple of the movies we're going to mention, there's always the possibility of spoilers, so be prepared. But these are Hitchcock films. They've been out for longer than I've been alive, so we're past the point of spoiler zone on any of these movies. Any of these movies.
For sure.
That said, let's jump into the top 5.
Okay, I'm ready.
What have you got for your number 5?
Okay, so my number 5 is the only Alfred Hitchcock film to ever win an Oscar. It is Rebecca, was released in 1940.
That is one of my honorable mentions.
It is? Okay, good. I could not leave this off the list because there are just some really... It's based on that Daphne du Maurier novel. And the story concept was cool and different. And that's one thing I loved about Hitchcock, is he was always trying to bring things to light in his films that were not the norm. And we really needed that, because a lot of movies, I think, from that era, there were a lot of love stories and different types of films. But I really like what he did with this one, because it was super creepy the entire time. It was just such a creepy film. And you really felt for the lead, because she was in a complicated situation with marrying this widower after only knowing him for 2 weeks. And then moving into his beautiful house and dealing with the housekeeper, Mrs. Danvers, who was a psychopath, basically, and trying to sabotage the relationship at every turn. And there was a lot of complications in there. Things weren't simple. It wasn't a simple story. And I like that he tried to stay true to the novel when he was making the movie.
Yeah, that's a good choice. Like I said, that's one of the ones that I had in my honorable mentions. And that is one of the, like, and there's a couple, like, I think every one of the ones in my top 5 are pretty well-known Hitchcock movies, but the ones in my honorable mentions, including Rebecca, are some of the lesser known Hitchcock films. So yeah. I'm glad you threw one, at least, I don't know what your other top 5 are, so I'm glad you threw at least one of those into the top 5.
I had to.
It makes me feel better knowing that all 5 of mine are like popular Hitchcock films.
It was really hard for me to choose between number 5 and number 6, because number 6 is my number 6, which is in the honorable mentions, is one that I also really like, because it's a complicated story. It wasn't a fancy or positive story at all. It was about trauma. And it was really hard for me to pick between the two, but I had to go with Rebecca, because I just feel like it gets overlooked, even though it won an Oscar.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. Like you said, it was based off a novel. It won an Oscar. It's a great film, but it's just a lesser known Hitchcock that it's one of those ones I kind of wish more people would check out.
There's so many, though. I mean, he has 54 films.
54 films, yeah.
And some of them are just, you don't hear about, because they get overshadowed by some of the movies that are in our top 5.
Well, there's also the fact too, and this will come up in some of the other movies too, that Hitchcock used a lot of the same people and who were big stars at the time. And Rebecca
really did.
And Rebecca's not really, from what I remember, not really one of those movies. There's not a lot of familiar faces in Rebecca.
No.
So it didn't have a lot of popular appeal or draw in the star power. Yeah. So that could be a reason why the movie was a little overlooked.
He did that, though. Sometimes with some of his films, he would want the story to be driven, like, for the film to be driven by the story and not by the faces. So he would pick those actors and actresses that were not as well known, just because then the story didn't get overshadowed by people, focusing on who was in the movie.
Well, and sometimes those are the better films.
Yeah.
Because you're not drawn to the attention of the star power. Like, you can focus more on the story being told, because it's being told by somebody that you don't know. So you don't automatically identify an actor with a different character than the one they're playing on the screen at the time. Yeah,
I agree. And there have been a few films that he did this in, and I really appreciated it.
Yeah, that's a good choice. That was a good choice. Like I said, that was one of my honorable mentions.
All right. I'm glad that it made your honorable mention list. That makes me happy.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's funny too, because I've mentioned this on other episodes too. It's really difficult putting together the top 5 sometimes, but I think the one thing that has stayed constant, with the exception of the Edgar Wright episode, the one thing that has stayed pretty constant in every episode of Wilhelm is that my number 1 is always the easiest choice.
Yes.
It's always the one I'm like, this is without a doubt my number 1. All these other ones are a crapshoot.
Yeah, I felt like my number 1 was the simplest. My 2, 3, and 4, they could have gone in any order. I had more agonizing over 5 and 6 than I did anything else.
Well, when you agonize over 5 and 6, it means one of them doesn't make the top 5.
Yes, and that's hard, because there were just some, like you said earlier, there's some movies that just stand out, and others get overlooked. And so,
yeah, my first honorable mention is one I tossed up, whether or not it should be in there.
Yeah, it's hard, so hard, but it's good.
That brings me to my number 5. My number 5 again is a movie I haven't seen probably in over a decade, but a little bit of a backstory. It is the movie. I tend to choose movies. The reason, like we all choose our favorites for different reasons, but I like to choose movies that sometimes I have a little bit of a connection to.
Mm-hmm.
My number 5 is actually the movie that introduced me to Alfred Hitchcock. And it was actually through that star power that I mentioned. In high school, I was in a play called Harvey.
Okay.
That the movie version had Jimmy Stewart playing the lead character.
Yes.
And that led me down watching other Jimmy Stewart movies, which led me to 1958's Vertigo.
Ooh.
Which you mentioned a little bit earlier on.
Yes, that's in my honorable mentions. It was not my number 6, but it was in my honorable mentions.
Yeah. But I mean, it was basically the star power of Jimmy Stewart that led me to give Vertigo a watch. And I ended up really enjoying it because it was such an intriguing story of just this detective who could no longer work because of his fear of heights, which leads to all these other actions that follow, and him having to overcome these fears, or at least not even overcome, but at least have to force to face them.
Yes.
As he's going through. And I just found the story so intriguing. And that was, like I said, this was one of my first forays into Hitchcock. I knew of Hitchcock. Well, this is my foray into Hitchcock outside of a particular other really popular horror movie. Horror Hitchcock that I'm not going to name because I don't know whether it's on your top 5 or it might also be in my top 5. So, but this was my first foray into Hitchcock outside of that movie.
Okay.
Like that movie, in my opinion, the one I haven't mentioned, it was mainstream Hitchcock because everybody, even people that didn't watch Hitchcock, knew that movie.
Yes.
This one, you had to be a fan of Hitchcock to enjoy.
Yes.
And this is the one that got me into Hitchcock. So that's the reason why Vertigo is my number 5.
Well, remind me to tell you about another Jimmy Stewart movie that you should check out, because I think you would enjoy it a lot.
All right.
And it's not a Hitchcock movie, but Hitchcock did work with Jimmy Stewart a few times.
Quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. He was one of the main 4 because he liked to work with the same, like you said, Cary Grant, Ingrid Bergman, Grace Kelly, Jimmy Stewart. Those are the ones he worked with the most.
Yeah.
Like
exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Over and over.
So that was my number 5.
All right. Well,
number
so
4.
That brings me to number 4, and sticking in the 50s, I am going to go sticking in the 50s and Jimmy Stewart. I'm going to go with one that was released in 1954, and it's called Rear Window.
That was my number 6.
Then we get to talk about it. That great.
Was the one that almost made it into it's my first honorable mention. That's the one that almost edged out Vertigo, but it was that connection of Vertigo introducing me to Hitchcock that I was like, no, Vertigo's got to go in.
It does. Yeah. I think some just affect you more than others. Or you go back to, like you said, looking at the one that brought you into it.
Yep.
And this one, I was one of the earlier ones that I watched. I was really lucky. I've always loved Hitchcock anyway, but I got to reintroduce myself to them again in the 2000s because some skaters that I knew from my time in the figure skating community gave me a gift of the first 2 seasons of Alfred Hitchcock Presents and a box set of his biggest movies, where I rewatched Rear Window, and it reminded me. I mean, I'd already seen it, but that was the first time I had rewatched it in years. I loved this story. I loved that we got to see Grace Kelly. I loved, the fact that they actually remade this film with Christopher Reeve much later.
Well, not only that, but that was something I was going to bring up too, that I wouldn't have had the chance to do if it didn't make your top 5. it's a story that has been retold in different
Yes.
ways.
Yes, it
Because
has.
not only was it remade with Christopher Reeve, but it was also remade in, God, I want to say, I can't. Oh man,
Are you thinking Disturbia with Shia
Disturbia?
LaBeouf?
Yes,
Yeah.
but I was trying to think of the year that Disturbia was. I think it's 2007.
Yeah. It's in
But
that
Shia
range.
LaBeouf.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's basically Rear Window
It is
being retold.
I like though that they did that and it was on a twist. Like they didn't just have a classic remake, it was with a twist because it was not, he didn't have a broken leg. It wasn't the same thing. I like that it was a little bit different the way that they told that story. The premise of this movie is basically this photographer named Jeff has a broken leg and he has a nurse and a socialite girlfriend. And he has taken, instead of watching television, he's basically looking out his window at the apartment next door.
He's being a peeping Tom.
He is.
Yeah.
And he witnesses what he thinks is a murder. And he spends the whole time trying to figure out what's going on. And
he basically becomes obsessed.
Yes.
In the idea that he witnessed a murder.
Yes. And there were several his poor girlfriend, she got in it with him, and there was a particular time I didn't think she was going to make it out. So
yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. But I really like this story. I like his use of like the camera near the end when the killer realizes what he's up to. He uses the camera and the flash bulbs to kind of distract him. And I just, as a photographer, I kind of connected with that. I just thought it was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great movie. And like I said, it was very difficult to bump that one out of my top 5.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that it's not only a great story and really well told, but it's kind of a fixture in pop culture in that it's been referenced in other projects. It's been remade. And I know like a lot of people, I don't know if it's so true today because everything gets fucking remade now, but like back in like the 80s, the 90s, and even the early 2000s, if a movie got remade, whether it was well done or not, it was kind of homage to the original. Because you were paying tribute to the fact like, okay, this movie was good enough then that we decided to do it again. Now everything gets remade. So
yes,
you can't really say that now.
What I really like though is there's a difference between movies being remade and movies being reimagined.
Yes.
And Paik and I recently covered a movie that I'll talk about at the end of the podcast, the early version and the reimagining. And one of the cool things about that is it wasn't a shot for shot remake. It was a different story. It had some similarities, but it was different. And you can take an idea and reimagine it and make it your own and make it cool. You don't have to try to take something that someone else did and then just remake it for the box office.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was a good choice.
Yeah. So that was my number 4.
Which leads me to my number 4. My number 4 is a 1954. So we're staying in the same area.
We really are.
Another 1954 Hitchcock film with starring Grace Kelly, because again, he uses a lot of the same actors.
He does.
This one is based off of a stage play. I went with Dial M for Murder.
Ooh, that is one I considered for my honorable mentions, but I had to keep the other ones in there and I didn't want my list to be too long.
Oh, trust me, if you've listened to this podcast before, your honorable mention is going to be 20 movies long because that's the way it's been before. Yeah, this is just one of those ones that I had to do because again, it's one of those great, I love stuff that's based off the stage because when it's done well, it turns out really great.
Yeah.
And this is one of those examples too, because this is one of those ones I actually went back and read the stage play after having seen the movie. And it's pretty well adapted. Like there's not a lot of changes to it at all.
Yeah.
And other people have tried to adapt it as well. But anytime you hear Dial M for Murder, it's made famous by Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Like Hitchcock is the one that adapted it properly.
He brought it to the forefront. He made it. He didn't go in thinking he had to make tons of changes. He just brought it to life in a new medium so that more people could see it.
Yeah.
And that is also one of the great things about filmmaking.
And it's just a great whodunit with a bunch of twists, throughout it. And it's just, if we learned anything from movies like Knives Out and such that have come out recently, a good whodunit will always keep you entertained and paying attention the entire movie.
Yes.
And Dial M for Murder is just another one of those great movies that you get so enthralled in what's happening, you don't stop watching.
Yeah, it definitely pulls you in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. Grace Kelly was she was a treasure. She really was.
Grace
as
Kelly,
an actress.
She was gorgeous.
Yeah,
flawless.
Yeah,
she was just
flawless.
She was an amazing actress. She was beautiful. Like she was just. It's no wonder people like Hitchcock and other directors used her. I mean, because if you look at her body of work, it is huge.
It is, and she left it all behind.
Yep. So, yeah, she has. Well, it's not huge. It's about 30.
I feel like she made a big impact in a short period of time.
I think that's exactly it. Like looking at her body of work, she started working in 1950 and her last movie was 1956.
Yeah.
She
6
made
years is not long.
30 projects in 6 years.
Yeah.
Like that was just, that was amazing. That leads us to number 3.
All right. Number 3, I'm 100% sure is on your list. So I hope you're ready to talk about it early.
All right.
1960, Anthony Perkins, Vera Miles, Janet Leigh, based on the novel of the same name. It's Psycho.
That is in my top 5. That is actually my number 2.
All right. So not your number 1. Okay. So I'm glad I didn't steal that thunder. Okay. This one, I don't even know what to say about it because I feel like it's already been said before. And
agreed.
This movie.
Let's just move on.
This movie stands on its own. It really stands on its own. There were so many things about it. It was shot in black and white. The iconic shower scene still, even though it's in black and white, it freaks me out because it's so, the blood going down the drain still, the knife. Yeah.
Well, it's chocolate syrup going down the drain, but I know what you mean.
Yes. But the visual.
Yes, exactly.
Still gets me.
Well,
every time I watch it.
Well, not only is it iconic, but it's the first time like Hitchcock took a risk with that scene because it was the first time there was ever that kind of violence being done on screen. And it was the first time that it's not nudity what we know today.
Right.
But that was one of the first instances ever of their quote unquote nudity.
Yeah.
In a woman naked in the shower. You don't see anything. It's all covered. But even still, like that had never been done before Psycho.
Yeah. I read a bit of trivia last week, actually, because I was doing some research for something completely different and not connected to this. It was the first time they showed a toilet in a movie.
I think I heard that before too.
I'm like, are you serious? Really?
Yeah, I think I've heard that before too.
Yeah, first time that they showed a toilet. Yeah.
Which is just weird.
I know. It's not something. Yeah, it's not something that I don't sit around wondering, well, when was the first time they showed this? And it's not something that's on top of my mind.
Yeah.
And it's the first time that you have someone that you think is the main character and they go into the movie and they continue to show you this. And then the main character is just, and you realize
murdered.
That she was never the main character at all. She wasn't the focus. The focus was really Norman Bates.
Mm-hmm.
He was the main character, but you don't realize that until she's gone. And then you're just like, what? you feel like the carpet's been ripped out from under you because it's not what you expect. And Hitchcock he was an expert at doing that to you in his movies. Like, you think you know what's going on, and he would flip it, skew it, mix it up, and you would not have a clue until you get to the end and you're like, what? That's how it ended? Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're introduced to this character in Janet Leigh, and she's taken away halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And it completely throws you off. And few movies and other movies have attempted that since.
Yeah.
Very few have gotten it good enough that it throws you.
Yeah. This was I feel like it was the first time it was done. And also, you think it's that she's killed by a woman. Like, you don't even know that it's Norman Bates, really.
Well, that's what was striking about that movie, too, is the fact that, one, you're thrown off by, like you mentioned, the fact that someone you thought was the main character really isn't the main character because she's killed off very early on.
Yeah.
But I can also tell you right now that the first time you see Anthony Perkins in that dress and the wig, and he comes with the knife, like, it's startling.
It is.
And it's very, very memorable.
It is. It's not like anything that had been done. I mean, this is just, again, Hitchcock twisting things around in a way that you're just like, okay, just join it, be on the roller coaster ride and have fun, because that's what you're getting. And it's totally okay.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And this was actually based on a novel too. It's another one that he took the novel and adapted it. It was a novel, and the novel was called Psycho, was by Robert Bloch, and it was based on Ed Gein. I guess that's what I had read.
Okay. I was not familiar with. I wasn't aware of.
Yeah.
So I have a couple other notes, but I'll save them for when we get to number 2.
Okay.
Because this way right. I at least have a couple something.
Yeah. There's one more thing I wanted to bring up too. Bernard Herrmann, it was the composer on this film, and that's someone that Hitchcock had worked with quite a bit. He loved what he did with this film, with the score, so he doubled the salary. And he thought a third of the movie's effect actually came from the music. And I have to agree.
He's not wrong at all. How many times have you watched other movies or seen television shows where someone does the knife slashing action with that because it's iconic? So he's absolutely right in saying that a third of the movie was the music.
Yeah.
It's iconic.
And I think it helps that he worked with Herrmann on so many of his films that, I mean, the composer knew what Hitchcock wanted. He probably was able to anticipate, exactly what he was looking for.
Yeah.
And I think that when you have that synergy with someone, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Go to the one you can count on to bring it home.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed.
So that's my number 3.
All right. So my number 3 is, we're actually going to stay in the same genre. And that is horror, because we're going to go with a little film that starred Rod Taylor and Tippi Hedren. Birdemic. Birds.
That is my number 2.
That's your number 2. Well, okay.
So this is good. We can segue right into doing my number 2 with your number 3, because I have notes and stuff. So we're good.
It's just, this is a movie that did to birds what Jaws did to sharks.
Yes.
Like, it made people afraid to go outside. Like, it's one thing, like Jaws made people afraid to go in the water, but you were able to avoid that. I know people to this day who still will not go into the water because they are afraid of sharks.
Yeah.
But when you have something like this, where you're taking a creature that we honestly take for granted.
Yeah.
Like birds, because they're just part of our everyday. We just kind of ignore them.
We see them. Yeah.
And you take a creature like that, where they're flocking together not just one kind of bird, but every kind of bird.
Everything. They flocking together. Yeah.
Flocking together to do what they do. And then you walk out of a movie theater after that.
You're going and looking up.
You are looking up at the sky. And yeah, the birds did to birds what Jaws did to sharks before Jaws did it.
Definitely.
Which is more important to note. Because Jaws wasn't until
75.
So this is 1963. So this is 12 years earlier. This was done.
Yeah. It also, Jessica Tandy was in this too.
Jessica Tandy was in this movie.
Yeah. She played Mitch's mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked Melanie, and I loved that character because I felt like she was very clever, and the way that she played the character really balanced well with Rod Taylor's Mitch. I feel like they really worked well together.
This is another movie too that, like, I'm kind of glad it hasn't been remade successfully.
No, there have been attempts in some weird ways to do things.
Birdemic was a attempt at a recreation of the birds.
Oh man.
It is iconic in its own way, not for being good.
No, definitely not, because it wasn't.
It's not at all. I think the only other movie I can think of that maybe in its own way took what the birds did and did their own twist on it. And again, in my opinion, some people might disagree with me on this, but again, this is not successfully, is The Happening. Because
agreed.
You took a force of nature that was very low key and overlooked, and you turned it against humanity.
Yeah.
It's a very similar story.
It is.
I don't think it was successful because I thought that movie is horrible.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, we covered it on Run for Your Lives.
I know you did.
And people actually like that episode. Like, it's gotten a lot of traction, but it is not. I mean, when I first saw The Happening, I actually liked it. But when we rewatched it to talk about it,
it does not hold up.
It did not hold up.
It's so funny. Like, it's one of those movies that, like, they say movies, like, some movies don't hold up over decades. The Happening did not hold up over weeks.
No, it didn't.
Like, you watched it 2 weeks later, it's like, wow, this movie didn't hold up at all.
I
just watched it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I didn't watch it again. I feel like I need to see riff tracks or something.
Oh my God, the riff tracks live version of Birdemic is a must see. I saw that in theaters, and there were moments I honestly could not breathe. I was laughing so damn hard.
Oh my gosh.
At the riff tracks live Birdemic Shock and Awe.
Oh my gosh.
It's amazing. Highly recommend that to anybody.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to revisit it, and I'm not sure we're going to cover it on Run for Your Lives.
Birdemic?
Yeah.
Oh, you should.
I guess it would be a fun one. I mean, it would be filled with laughter, but most of our podcasts are anyway, so that probably would fit right in.
This is accurate.
It can't be worse than Thanksgiving.
It could be. It really could be. What are some notes that, because you said this is your number 2?
It's my number 2.
What are some other additional notes you have on the birds?
Well, you mentioned that you can't leave the theater without looking up. I grew up on the water, like on an island, and seagulls were everywhere. So you can imagine what it was like. You watch this movie, and then you can't leave the house. You know, it's just creepy. The whole thing, you know, it's just super creepy. I like that because we covered this one on Run for Your Lives, there are a few tidbits that I wanted to share just because they're things that stood out to me. Mm-hmm. They actually trained birds for this movie, 3,200 birds to be exact. And
wait, so you mean they weren't CGI like they were in Birdemic?
No, they weren't.
Well, look at the time period too. Like, I think the only way to legitimately do this right would be you would have to train birds.
Yeah,
because there's no other way to do it at that time.
Yeah, and Hitchcock said the ravens were very clever, but the seagulls were the most vicious. And I'm just like, that totally fits within the realm of what you would expect. They did have a couple of different endings planned. One of them was going to show the Golden Gate Bridge completely covered in birds. And I was just like, oh my God. I was already nervous after we got to the end and saw all the birds. This would have pushed me over the edge. I would not have been able to leave the house because the seagulls and everything, no, just would have been crazy.
Daphne, we're going on vacation. Where are we going? San Francisco? Hell no.
No. No, not happening. And the last thing that I wanted to share was about the seagulls. The only way that they could get them to hang around and do what they were doing, like just hang around, especially with the ending scene, was they fed them a mixture of wheat and whiskey.
Wheat and whiskey?
Wheat and whiskey.
All right.
Yeah.
I would stick around for wheat and whiskey.
Yeah. So those are just a few things that I wanted to share. Things that stood out to me as far as like outside the scope of the movie. But I really loved Tippi Hedren's portrayal of Melanie in this movie, because she was, until the end, pretty sassy, and I liked it.
Yeah. No, and it's such a, at the time it was frightening.
Yeah.
Now I think it's fun.
It's fun. It's definitely fun.
Because you realize you're old enough now, and you realize, because again, at the time that it came out, back in 63, something like this had never been done before.
Yeah.
It was new to, have these birds trained and tell this story about like nature turning on humanity. Mm-hmm. Like a story like that had never been told before. So that it's literally like War of the Worlds, where people honestly thought the original radio show was aliens actually.
Yeah, they did.
Like to the point where people actually committed suicide after hearing the radio show, because they believed it was actually happening. And this is one of those things that, because this had never been done before, you left the theater and you looked at the sky.
Yeah.
Now we know that unless you have pockets full of birdseed, that's probably not going to happen.
That's probably not going to happen. I did think too.
So it's fun to watch.
They had, birds chasing children down the hill. That is not something that you saw in movies during that time, where kids were in peril. Like kids were usually off limits. Yeah. And he did not. There were no rules for Hitchcock. He just basically was like, yep, kids are going to run down the hill running away from birds, and you're going to see one or two get attacked. That is not something you ever saw.
Well, it was realism.
Yeah. It was.
In a situation like that, kids would get attacked. So guess what he did in the movie?
Exactly.
Kids got attacked.
Yep, he did. He put the realism out there.
Yeah.
So so your number 3 was my number 2.
And my number 2 was your number 3, which leads us back to Psycho. Yes. We kind of covered a lot about that. The only thing I kind of wanted to throw in was something I actually learned as of late. I knew there were sequels to Psycho. I had never seen any of them, because to me, after seeing a movie like Psycho, which is such a masterpiece in my eyes, it's a masterpiece of storytelling, it's a masterpiece of horror, I automatically had it in my head that no sequel is ever going to live up to the original. And I don't think they have.
They haven't, but number 2.
However, I did watch this season. I'm a big fan of Eli Roth's History of Horror.
Yeah.
And the season 3 just kicked off, and the first episode was Sequels That Don't Suck. And one of the ones they chose was actually Psycho 2.
Yeah.
Which I had never watched. I never even looked into, because I stayed away from the sequels. But I didn't realize until hearing them talk about the movie that it was actually the return of Norman Bates. Just a number of years later. Yes,
it was well done. They did a good job with it.
And that the sequel is actually really well done.
Yeah. It doesn't happen a lot.
Because Norman Bates, from what they talk about too, Anthony Perkins didn't want to do any sequels to Psycho. Like, he thought that story was told. And they pitched a number of different sequels to him, and he kept telling them no. And it wasn't until they pitched him what actually became Psycho 2 that he agreed to do it. So I may actually end up checking out Psycho 2 at some point.
I think you should. I really liked it. I actually, believe it or not, saw the second one before I saw the first one.
Well, that's interesting.
It is. It wasn't available when you rented VHS tapes. The Psycho came out at a time where I could get it, Psycho 2, and the first one just wasn't available.
Well, it's also interesting too, because they go over what the story is of the second one too, and it's a different story in that Norman is actually trying to be a better person.
He is, yes.
But it's the influence of somebody else that actually drives him back to the point that he was at the end of Psycho.
Yeah.
So he actually was on the verge of becoming a good person, but it's somebody else that ruins that.
Of course. That's how it usually works. And they did also bring Vera Miles back in to be Marion's sister, which I think really added more clout and consistency between the two.
And it's actually Vera's daughter in Psycho 2 that it's the work of Vera and Vera's daughter together that kind of drive Norman back to being Norman from Psycho.
Yeah. So. Being who he was always meant to be.
Exactly. But that brings us to our number one picks in our top 5.
So excited.
I'm excited about this too, because other than Psycho and the Birds, which I kind of had a feeling were going to be in your top 5.
Yeah.
Because I know you well enough that I had a feeling they were going to be in your top 5, and they were in my top 5. But those two were the only two that we share, because I'm pretty confident we're not sharing number 1.
No, we are not.
So
you've never seen this one, I can guarantee.
Probably not. Which when you said that to me, I was like, okay, you definitely don't have my number 1.
Yeah.
And I don't have yours.
Yeah.
That said, what have you got for your number 1 Alfred Hitchcock?
So my number 1 is a 1955 film that starred a few big names, but they weren't super big at the time. Shirley MacLaine, John Forsythe. It's called The Trouble with Harry.
Never even heard of this one.
I knew it. I knew you wouldn't have, because again, it's overlooked. And I remember the first time that I saw this movie, I didn't love it. But the next time I saw it, it became my favorite. It's just the story of this small town in Vermont, and the residents are just faced with this whodunit, who killed Harry. But the trouble is, it could have been anyone, and no one knows who really killed him until the end. And so they're all like, the entire film is them burying the body and digging him out, and burying the body and digging him out, and trying to figure out who did it. But it's also kind of there's a little love story in there, and it's not a typical Hitchcock film, but it still works. All of it works. And I just, at the end of the movie, I just think, how many times can you bury a body? And Shirley MacLaine was very young in this movie, and she was just delightful. So
you gotta love movies that make you ask the question, how many times can you bury a body?
Yes, exactly.
That should have been the tagline.
I know.
This movie will make you question, how many times can you bury one body?
I know. You can hear it in that voice, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that it was a simple concept, and the story got a little more complicated the more people got involved with it, because at first it was one person and then another person, and then they started to figure out, well, he didn't do it, but maybe it was this one, and they were all trying to protect each other. And so they would bury the body and then go dig him out so that he could be found, but then bury him again because they want to protect someone else. And at one point, the poor man who started the whole thing is just waiting at the very beginning to bury the body for the first time. And people just keep showing up and seeing him, but not really noticing the body's there. Mm-hmm. And at one point he just says, couldn't have more people here if I'd sold tickets, because he's just waiting. And it was a delightful movie. I really enjoyed it so much.
I'm glad it wouldn't be an episode of Wilhelm if I didn't have a movie to add to my list of movies to see. So I'm glad I finally have one now, because I didn't up until this point.
It's not, you know what? And you can take this out. It wasn't on that other streaming service that you know about.
Oh, that's staying in. It's fine.
Yeah.
You didn't mention it by name. It's fine.
Okay. That other streaming service didn't have it, so I had to get it from Amazon. But I own it, but I wanted to watch it on the computer, and it just was easier to rent it from Amazon.
It's understood. It's fine.
Yeah. But I just really like this one. And it's not a typical movie that Hitchcock would do. Like, it just was a very different film. And you also had like a very young Jerry Mathers, who of course is Leave It to Beaver, playing this very young, like 4-year-old boy. And he's just adorable and quippy and sassy to his mother. And it's a really good movie. And it's actually one of Hitchcock's favorite movies that he ever did.
I'm going to have to check that out. I will add that to the list of movies I need to watch.
All right, good.
Parentheses, and may never get to. I guess that leads me to my number one. My number one is a Hitchcock film starring the wonderful Cary Grant, the lovely Ava Marie Saint, and Mr. James Mason. My number one is North by Northwest.
I had a feeling that was the direction you were going to go in.
This is, again, it's very rare that when I'm working on my top fives, I question my number one. My number one is always the one I'm going like, yeah, that's my number one.
Yeah.
This is the only Hitchcock film I have watched in the last like 4 or 5 years, because I love this movie. It is without a doubt my favorite Hitchcock film.
It's kind of like a James Bond, non-James Bond movie.
It is. It's the it's the mistaken hero, because he's not meant to be.
No.
It's mistaken identity, and he's just run on an adventure. And it's another movie that there are elements that just run through pop culture. The scene of Roger Thornhill running from the biplane is so iconic. That
definitely
other movies have done it. It's been spoofed in Family Guy. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade even did their own version of it with the Nazi biplane coming after Indy and his dad.
Yeah.
Like, and not only that, but I mean, like, this is an adventure in the truest sense when it comes to Hitchcock. Like, this is, you talk about like the biplane chase, you talk about climbing on Mount Rushmore. Like, this is an adventure film.
It is. And he didn't do a lot of those. No, this was different.
This was a rarity coming from Hitchcock.
Yeah, it was definitely different for him.
And it's one of those reasons. Now, he did do another movie that's kind of similar, like North by Northwest was 1959, so we're end of the 50s. And I'm actually giving away one of my honorable mentions now, but he did another movie called The 39 Steps.
Yes.
From 1935, which is also in my honorable mentions. Which is actually a very similar, it's kind of a similar story. It's a mistaken identity, person on the run kind of a story. But North by Northwest takes that story and just amps it up. And it's just so much more adrenaline filled for what it could be at that time.
Yeah.
Like, this is one of those movies I don't like to see classic movies remade. North by Northwest, I might make an exception for.
I know. I wonder how they could bring it to life and like bring it up to something modern without going down the road of like James Bond, but making it stand out and be iconic on its own.
I actually wouldn't even mind it still being a period piece and taking place in the 50s, but just with more modernized filmmaking technique and just make it a little more like kind of like turn the adrenaline up a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, still make it take place in the 50s and it's the CIA and whoever, you know, is chasing him. The government's after him. Keep the story elements the same. Modernize the filmmaking.
Yeah.
And,
that could be,
and
that
make
could
it like,
really
like do an actual reboot. I would accept that.
Okay.
I'd actually like to see it.
Yeah, please. You have to tread carefully with Hitchcock and remakes because we could get a Rear Window remake that was actually decent with Christopher Reeve.
Or you could get a Psycho with Vince Vaughn.
Oh. Yeah, there was that.
I mean, and that was legitimately like a shot for shot remake.
It was, and that
Psycho.
just makes it worse.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if
it
could
put their own twist on it.
No, and I don't. Yeah, that is a movie that should never have been made. On the list of movies that should never be made. I like Vince Vaughn also, but that was just a bad idea.
I agree. So, yeah, that was a great top 5. So we can knock out a couple honorable mentions at this point. I really don't have many left because we mentioned Rebecca, Rear Window, and 39 Steps. So I only have 2 left. So I'll start with you. What's another one of your honorable mentions?
Okay, so Vertigo was on my list already. My number 6 is a movie called Marnie, and it starred Tippi Hedren and Sean Connery. It's basically a con artist. Tippi Hedren plays this con artist, and one of her victims comes back to blackmail her, and then her traumatic past is uncovered. It's really well done. Grace Kelly was supposed to play the lead role, but she backed out. Mm-hmm. Another movie that I really like, Strangers on a Train.
Strangers on a Train is one of my 2.
Yeah, Strangers on a Train.
I only have 1 left.
2 strangers meet by chance on a train, decide to commit murder. After one follows through, the other doesn't really want to. So that kind of goes down a weird road. Then there's Rope, which was 1948.
Rope's a good choice too.
Rope is a good one.
I forgot about that one.
I think Shadow of a Doubt was my last one.
Okay. Yeah, the only one I have left that I didn't get to mention. All the other ones have been mentioned over the course of the conversation. The only one I have left is Notorious from 1946.
Ooh, that is one I have not seen in quite some time.
Another Cary Grant led Alfred Hitchcock film.
Yeah. He really did try to stick with the ones that he could trust. He went
with who he knew.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. I think that he knew I'm sure when he was figuring out which film he was going to do, he had in mind who he wanted to work with. He thought about the character and he said, yeah, Jimmy Stewart would work for this and Cary Grant would work for this one. I think it's interesting that he worked with these actors more than once, but I really think that he also wanted to stay and connect the actor to the character, basically, and make sure that he made the right choice.
It's interesting because on the list of actors that I have for Wilhelm episodes, I didn't really go as far back as like Jimmy Stewart and Cary Grant, and I really should, because there are a number of phenomenal movies. Cary Grant is another great example. Like, it would be really tough for me. Cary Grant would be a good example as to it would be difficult for me to choose my number 1. Because I haven't seen a lot of his, but of the ones that I've seen, North by Northwest would be a contender for number 1, along with Arsenic and Old Lace.
Yeah. Be really hard to
I freaking love Arsenic and Old Lace. Like, that is such a great, like, fun, rainy or snowy day, like just sitting on the couch watching a classic comedy movie. I love it.
I was going to bring up to you, Jimmy Stewart was in a movie that I thought that you'd like to see. Did you ever see You've Got Mail?
The Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan?
Yeah.
I have. Yeah.
There was a movie before that, way, way back, called The Shop Around the Corner.
I've heard of it.
Yes. Jimmy Stewart. You really need to check it out around Christmas. It's really good. Yeah. I enjoyed it a lot.
I will have to check that one because I do like Jimmy Stewart. So
yeah, it's really endearing and sweet. And it's not that You've Got Mail was based on it. You've Got Mail is kind of a reimagining of it in a more modern setting.
And it's
the
called
original
the shop around the corner.
The shop around the corner.
All right.
If you think about it, that was the name of Meg Ryan's character's store, was the shop around the corner.
Well, it makes a lot of sense then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to check that out. I think you'd like it.
I will have to. Yeah. I'm going to add that one to the list.
Yeah.
He's another one that, like, to do an episode of, like, I would have to really choose my co-host for that one.
You would.
Very carefully.
Yeah.
And it would probably be an older person. Like, I'm not going to lie about that.
Yeah. I think you have to have someone who really appreciates his craft, the way he brought characters to the screen, because he's just an icon. It's not something, I mean, if you think about it, him and Cary Grant, the way that they were icons, I'm just not sure that there are actors today that I consider to be like icons, but not in the same way that Jimmy Stewart or Cary Grant were. It's just a different world right now. It's a different world.
Yeah.
They're just different. You can't consider them the same. It's just different.
They're classics in their own right, along with the films that they were in.
Yes.
I mean, a number of people, like, if you ask anybody today, like the younger generation today, who Jimmy Stewart was, nobody knows.
They have no idea.
Nobody knows who he is. And even if you go a little older and ask those people, most of those people will go with It's a Wonderful Life, but they would not be able to name at least 2 or 3 other movies.
No, they wouldn't. No. And that's sad, because that was a golden era of filmmaking. I mean, it really was. Every generation brings something different, but there's so much to be appreciated when you think about these earlier films.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and I haven't seen any of them in years, but I could name at least 5 to 10 more Jimmy Stewart movies, like off the top of my head right now.
Yeah.
I won't, because this isn't a Jimmy Stewart episode of Wilhelm.
No, but it connects you.
But
I mean, you think about it. Yeah.
I mean, you look at the fact that Hitchcock used him so often.
He did.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
He was an amazing actor.
He worked with so many great ones, though. I mean, like in Marnie, he worked with Sean Connery, and you just look at it and think about all the different people that he was able to work with, like early on in their careers.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Great job on the lists. I'm really happy with the way those lists turned out, because there really wasn't a lot of overlap.
No.
Other than Psycho and the Birds, but I was fully expecting that.
Yeah.
So
Me too.
that wasn't much of a surprise.
Yeah.
Let's get back to Run for Your Lives.
All right.
Before we get ready to get out of here, tell the listeners what the podcast is, what you do with it, where they can find it.
Okay. So Paige and I have this really great podcast called Run for Your Lives, as we've talked about a little bit earlier. We talk about monster movies, disaster films, creature features, anything basically that will make you run for your lives. It could be a slasher film. It could be Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. I mean, we pretty much run the gamut of whatever we feel like we connect to our theme is what we do. The last 2 weeks, we have done this double dip. That's what Paige calls it. Of Dawn of the Dead. We did the original 1978, which was, of course, George A. Romero. It's a classic. And then we did, most recently, last week, we posted the 2004 Zack Snyder remake, Dawn of the Dead, the 2004 Dawn of the Dead remake, but I actually consider it more of a reimagining of the film.
I agree with you. I listened to both episodes, and I know Paige, as well as a number of your listeners, have said that the 2004 Zack Snyder version is their favorite zombie movie. The original Dawn of the Dead is, don't get me wrong, I really, as much shit as I give Zack Snyder, and I give him a lot of it, especially for the DC stuff, I really enjoyed his reimagining of Dawn of the Dead.
Me too.
The original Dawn of the Dead, though, is still to this day my favorite true zombie film.
Mine too. It's what introduced me to the genre. And honestly, I look at it as it was a gateway, all that time ago when I saw it. It was the movie that my sister and I would rent every week. My mom got sick of it. She'd take us to rent movies and she'd be like, "Oh, not that one again. You've already seen it. You can quote it by now." But I loved it. I loved the whole concept of it. And it really did give me my, start to build my love of zombies. And if I look at, all these years later, all the cool things that have come because of zombies in my life, honestly, I'm grateful for that. And
I don't know what you're talking about, actually.
I think the cool stuff and connections and stuff that have come from that. So I'm really excited. It was cool for Paige and I to do this because his favorite is the 2004. Mine is the 1978. So we just did both of them because we thought it would be something cool to do. And
there's a nice dynamic between the two.
Yeah. So, and he had never seen the original, so it was even more fun. I don't think he had seen it. No.
Well, that's a shame.
I know.
He's seen it now.
He's seen it now. There have been movies that he has watched for the first time because of this podcast. And there are more movies that he'll probably watch for the first time because of the podcast.
I mean, and you guys really do cover some great movies in there and some not so great movies as well.
We do.
And they're not so great when you cover them. So it's not like you're touting off about how great this movie is when the rest of the world's like, no, Thanksgiving is not a great movie at all.
No, we do holiday specials around Halloween, and we just do some fun. We come up with different ideas all the time. And if anyone wants to give it a listen, you can find the links to everything you need by going to runforyourlivespodcast.com.
Nice. One-stop shop for everything.
One-stop shop for everything.
I think you did neglect to mention one very important part of the podcast, though, and that is that occasionally you have this person come on and deliver these
monologues,
amazing monologues of
we do
iconic film scenes.
Yes.
Most notably President Whitmore's speech from Independence Day.
Yes.
I can't remember who it was that came on and did that.
It might have been you.
But
yes,
he was great. So
yes. Yes. Ben came on to talk about Independence Day with us, and we did it as our 4th of July special. And he did a wonderful monologue for Independence Day at the end, complete with the music in the background.
I put the music behind it and everything.
It was so great. So great. And he's going to be coming back really soon to talk about another movie. It's not a holiday special, but
it's not a holiday special, but listen, you don't want to miss a thing.
No, you don't.
And
if you know, you know.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, definitely go over and check out Run for Your Lives with Daphne and Paige. It's great. Like I said, I listen to it as well. And occasionally, it's not all the time, but you do have some guests every once, some guest calls.
We do. We space it out. I like to space it out. The next guest that we have coming on is our good friend Greg, and we're going to talk about Camp Cretaceous season 1. I
actually thought of another one I would have liked to have done with you, but I actually would have liked to have done it this month because it's appropriate for the season. And if not this year, maybe next year. I would love to come on and do Freddy versus Jason. Ooh, we could do that. That would be fun. Because with that, you're blending 2 franchises, but it's also a standalone film from those franchises. I liked that one too. I did too. I feel like there's some good stuff in there. And I also feel like anyone who was a fan of both of the series of movies, we were waiting for that to happen. Oh, that movie had been in developmental hell for about a decade because it got set up. It got set up at the end of a Friday the 13th movie. The movie, there's one Friday the 13th movie, and I think it's 5, where literally like Jason's mask is lying on the dirt and Freddy's glove comes up, grabs it and pulls it. And we're like, is this really happening? Yes, we're getting it. And it took 10 years
Yep.
for that movie to finally happen. And it was worth, to me, in my opinion, worth every minute of the wait.
It was worth the wait. I really enjoyed it so much. And I think it's actually underrated. I think people look at it as being this slasher film, just another slasher film in the series. And I don't think it was. I think
I agree.
It was the movie we were all waiting for.
So maybe next year.
Maybe next year.
Could be. Maybe next Halloween season, I get to come on and talk Freddy versus Jason with the two of you.
Maybe we'll do a Spooktober type thing next year and do a whole bunch of spooky ones. Because we've been doing like the new Halloween series that has been coming out. The next one comes out, I believe,
next week.
Yeah. So yes, we'll be covering that soon too. And we're also doing I think the episode that actually drops when this episode drops the same day is 10 Cloverfield Lane,
which I'm so excited to hear your thoughts because I love that movie.
It only took us a year to come back to this because Cloverfield was our second episode, so it took us a long time to get back to it.
Not too long. So
yeah.
But yeah, definitely go and check out Run for Your Lives. It's a great, fun podcast, and Daphne and Baker are awesome at what they do.
Oh, thanks for saying that. I'm still feel like I'm new to podcasting, but I'm having such a great time.
You are, but you're learning as you go, and it's anybody who listens you can hear that the biggest thing about it is that you can tell that you guys are enjoying what you do.
Yeah.
And that's the most important part of putting together a podcast.
Yeah. We have so much fun. It's really just, it's two people that love a genre of movies and just enjoy, getting to nerd out over it. So,
yeah. As for this podcast, as for Wilhelm, if you like what you hear, be sure to leave a review of the show on whatever podcasting platform you listen to. Or you listen on. The more reviews, the more people I get to reach. So the more reviews that you leave, the better it helps the show. Also be sure to follow Wilhelm on social media on Facebook at facebook.com/the Wilhelm podcast. And I'm also on Instagram and Twitter at the Wilhelm pod. I will be more active on both of those, I promise. Finally, if you want to be a guest or have an idea for a topic or theme you want to hear me cover, film franchise, debate you want to hear me settle, movie you want to hear me take a deep dive into, whatever, you can let me know by messaging me at any of the places I mentioned, or you can email me directly at thewilhelmpodcast@gmail.com. Continuing on with Spooktober, next week, my guest will be our friend Damien. First time coming on the podcast, but he is the host of his own podcast called I Watched It in the 80s, which is
it's so much fun.
It's so fun. And it's appropriate because he's coming on to talk about the Ghostbusters franchise.
Ooh, so much. There's so much fun in that franchise. Much fun.
And all three of the movies we're going to be talking about. I know people don't consider the all-female one part of the franchise, but it is. And we're gonna throw out some predictions as to what we would like to see from the new Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is going to be releasing next month.
Yeah, from what I've seen with the previews, at first I thought I don't really want to watch this, but I watched one of the previews. I feel like I have to see it now.
There are people out there who have seen the movie already and say that it is lovingly nostalgic.
Oh,
so that right there already, it had me on Paul Rudd. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, that
it had me at Paul Rudd.
Yeah, that's usually a deal breaker as far as in the positive way. Like, if you see his name, you definitely want to be getting on that train.
He's on the very short list of actors that I will watch pretty much anything he does, along with Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, and Tom Hanks.
I want to know how Paul Rudd has managed to look the same.
Blood.
Because I look at him now and I still see the same guy that was in Clueless.
He's not immortal. I know some people think otherwise, because in the trailer for Ghostbusters, there's definitely one or two close-up scenes where you can see the crow's feet, and he's starting to show a little older, but he still doesn't look much different than Clueless.
I feel like he has a young spirit too. Like in the roles he plays, And even outside of that, he just really seems to have a young spirit. And I think that shows through too in people, that even as they age.
I feel like he probably told the makeup artist on Ghostbusters Afterlife, make me look a little older. They're on to me. So,
oh boy.
But thank you, Daphne, for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me. This was a great time.
I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Me too.
You'll be back on again, I'm sure.
Yes, we have a couple more in the works for the future.
Yep, for sure. But to everybody out there, as I do at the end of every episode, thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of the audience and for making this podcast what it is. Thank you for the feedback that I constantly get. It means so much to me. As I tell everybody, tell 2 or 3 of your friends to check out this podcast. That's all I ask. Again, I mentioned Ghostbusters coming up. We've got horror movies to wrap up the month. Next month in November, we're going to do a Matrix episode, which is going to be a lot of fun because the new Matrix comes out in December. We're going to be doing another holiday month with more holiday episodes. And then January is James Bond month, which is all James Bond movies throughout the month of January. It's going to be fun. Thank you guys for listening. But until next time, we'll see you guys around the bend. Take care.